come on in. Yeah, have a seat wherever you'd like. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today. We do have a lot to get through, but I'm going to try to move quickly, make sure that you can get out of here and on to better things. I'm sure you have a packed day today because you are a very busy person. So first off, I just want to hand you some of the materials that you might need today, and you can keep these moving forward. So starting off with a little notebook that you can use. Going to be perfect for you to write whatever notes you need in here in case you're worried about forgetting anything that we talk about. And it has this nice little stretchy band to close your notebook right up when we're done. Okay. And yeah, so here you go. Along with that, I'm giving you a little pencil. Yeah. Again, these are things for you to keep, courtesy of the company. And then, really importantly, little binder here just for you. Another thing for you to keep. So this has all the information we're going to be going through today, but in just a longer, more professional format. So if you need to reference anything at all, look no further than your binder, okay? We don't expect you to memorize all the policies that we're laying out here, so we're giving you a reference. All right, here you go. Perfect. Glad to see that you're excited to get started. And then I have my own notebook here. So I'll just be making a couple notes about our experience together today, okay? Admin just likes to have everything on record, so I'm going to kind of be acting like a little quasi-secretary in our situation. It says standard issue notebook number 3, and down here in the little gold it says Design Works ink. Pretty, huh? It has these little rings here, so cute. Standard issue notebook number 3. Due to a little bit of a bookkeeping error, we didn't actually get all the information we needed from your application. So don't worry, you're still in, but I am going to need to just add some things. So in my notebook here, I do have a form. And I'm going to need to just write down a little bit of that missing information, okay? So, first of all, have you ever worked with one of our sister companies before? Yes or no? Gotcha. Is that how you heard about us? Okay. Perfect. We're glad to hear that some of our recruitment programs and recruitment efforts in general are making headway with how we interact with our sister companies and with our employees throughout our entire network. So that's great. Moving on. Have you ever contracted litiginitis, tertionitis? Okay. So there is a family history? Okay. Litiginitis, tertionitis. But you've never tested positive for this. Great. Yeah, we just like to keep stuff like that on record because there is sort of a high frequency of litiginitis, tertionitis in our employee population, because I wouldn't say the work we do is boring, but it can get to people. And I mean, you know how this disease is contracted. Yeah. Chronic boredom, and you know, along with this preference for spicy foods, yeah, scientists have found a correlation there. Don't know if it's causation, but it is interesting. So more of the severe cases in our employee population are actually with people who prefer to put red pepper flakes on their pizza, which is really interesting. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so maybe don't do that. But I don't think you're going to contract this. You're not going to be too bored. in your role with us here, and we'll talk more about that as this training goes on. Okay, perfect. That is pretty much all I needed to know from you. We got all your demographic information from your application. Thank you so much for filling that out and sending it back to me. Really appreciate it. Alrighty, so I'll set that to the side for the moment, and then I'm just gonna pull up all of our training materials here on my laptop. Okay, perfect. So, okay, the first thing that we're going to talk about is customer satisfaction. So when you are selling one of our products to a customer or a client that you have on your list, you just need to make sure that you're always extremely polite, okay? So the customer is always right. I'm sure you've heard that before. But one of the interesting things that our company really tries to recognize is that the customer is in fact stupid. So you need to be very clear with everything that you're saying. The customer is not going to understand you if you speak normally or at a normal volume or at a normal pace. So you just need to make sure that you treat them like a baby. So when you talk to them, it's as if you're talking to, you know, your 4-year-old niece or something like that. Does that make any sense? Yeah? Is that good? Okay. Perfect. I'm glad that you're amenable to that. Some people really don't take kindly to that, and they actually decide to quit their jobs because of it. Because if we do hear you talking normally on the phone to a customer or client, we will unfortunately be forced to subject you to demerits, because that's just really not the way we operate here, okay? Okay, I'm glad that you're all right with that, and that's something that you will probably want to write down in your notebook because you really don't want to forget, yeah? Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've gone through a little bit of customer satisfaction. I want to move on to, you know, employee relationships in the workplace. This doesn't mean romantic relationships, but it does mean just how you interact with your fellow employees in the workplace. So the most important aspect of this is that we do actually require regular PDA. So you are not allowed to just say hello to your coworker. You need to at least give them a hug. Okay, so I hope you're a hugger. I hope you're a hugger. Does that make sense? And I'm just noting down your reaction to this, just so we have that on record. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sometimes people are more than huggers and they want to give you the kiss, okay? Sometimes people will just kiss you on the mouth, okay? Yeah, you gotta be okay with that. Are you okay with that? Okay, perfect. Good to know, good to know. Yeah, if you want a little bit of history on that, actually, I can pull up one of our supporting supplemental documents here. So yes, our founder was a great believer in, you know, showing his affection for his fellow humans, and yes, this was actually, unfortunately, what led to his untimely death, because he did, yeah, he contracted something from someone. Yeah, I don't know if I don't want to scare you away. That's not going to happen. First of all, legionnaires tertianitis is not contractable via physical touch. Okay, it just kind of happens to you. It's like a passive process, yeah. Unless you are putting red pepper flakes on your pizza. But other than that, yeah, so you're not going to get that from anybody in our employee population. You know, diseases and infections that spread physically, people aren't going to come to work if they have those, you know? I mean, come on, if you have a cold, if you have a fever, if you're puking, you're not at work, right? Yeah, yeah. So you really don't have to worry about that. We do keep a pretty safe population here. Everybody's fairly healthy, and I don't think you're gonna have to worry about any of that. If you do worry, just, you know, submit a complaint to our office and we'll have it checked out. But yeah, if you do refuse any of these like advances from anybody, we will have to subject you to demerits. Okay? Yeah, we're just really honoring our founder. He really believed in this. What was that? Oh, no. No, it's not. We don't like to think about the death part. Yeah, I mean, just imagine if you're constantly thinking about the negatives of something, how are you gonna enjoy life? Okay, yeah, you seem like somebody who focuses on the negative a little too much, aren't ya? That's not really gonna go over well. Let's see, I think the next thing we're gonna talk about, again, kind of under that umbrella of employee interconnectedness, is the amount of positivity you need to show in the workplace. This is absolutely critical. We want to keep up a good morale among our employees, and you are going to be a member of our team, so we really can't have you spreading any dark, gloomy, emotional mold all over our office, okay? Yeah, so here's what this looks like. We have a little example here on my laptop where there's, you know, two people, and I actually witnessed this once, and one of them says, you know, in the classic fashion of our company, "How are you today?" The answer better be good, or I'm gonna punch you in the face. You know, just something kind of funny like that, you know, like you better be having a good day, because if you're not, get out of here, or get, you know, corporal punishment. Pretty funny. And the other person said, "Hey, that's really not something that I'd like to hear, especially from somebody who I consider to be, you know, in a professional relationship with." Can you imagine saying that to somebody? Yeah, no, that did unfortunately lead to the immediate firing of that employee. How rude can you get? I know, right? Like, sometimes we just have to laugh at the crazy people in the world, because my God. Yeah, so unfortunately that employee was let go, and it just kind of serves as an example of how you need to act, what your actions should be. Because when something's mandatory, it's mandatory for a reason. I'm struggling to articulate this because, again, I don't want to scare you away, but we really do keep smiles on faces here. Yeah, that does lead pretty nicely into the next little aspect of this, which is that idea that if you do stop smiling, you will be subject to demerits. And, you know, we do recognize that sometimes it can be difficult on your mouth to constantly be smiling. And you don't have to always be smiling during conversation. So notice how while I'm talking to you, if I'm thinking of something, if something occurs to me, I'm not necessarily smiling. But if you're just sitting there at your desk, writing, typing, waiting on a hold, you need to have a lovely smile just plastered on your face, because, you know, if somebody comes into our office, somebody from one of our sister companies or somebody from high up or a potential client, we cannot have them seeing anybody with an ounce of negativity on their face. Okay, so it's got to be, yeah, practice. Oh, beautiful smile. Yeah, you got it. Okay, perfect, you got it. So yeah, that's really important. What was that? Oh, it's funny that you ask. You know, our demerits, the nature of these varies. Some of them are more intense than others. Sometimes it can involve just, you know, taking a ruler, smacking your wrist a couple hundred times. It's really no big deal. Think of school. But sometimes it can escalate to threats to your family and friends. So that's why we like to keep a nice list of your emergency contacts. This is why we ask for 15 emergency contacts, just to kind of see who's in your close network, who are you going to be upset on behalf of if they are in fact threatened. So yeah, you got to keep that smile up. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. I can't hear you. I really can't. No, I do have, I need my hearing aids. Oh, that was funny. That was really funny. Yeah, just keep, oh, you have such a beautiful smile. Okay, let's move on to the next aspect of this training, which is going to be phone etiquette. So we've already talked about how you need to be smiling when you're on hold and how you need to talk very slowly and loudly to your customers. But another thing is that we just, this is going back to the prevalence of our unfortunate boredom disease, but we just really can't have that spreading even more. We want to reduce all risk if possible. So if you are waiting on hold on the phone, or if the phone's just ringing, we do need you to keep up the company dance. Yeah, have you heard of this? It actually went viral a couple years ago on social media. Yeah. Well, it's really cute. So what you're gonna do is you're going to take your hand and you're gonna take your other hand, yes, even with the phone in it, and you're just gonna start kind of like doing a little pat on the head with your hands. And then this is slowly going to escalate to little touching of the nose. Yes, even while holding the phone, little touching of the nose, and then little touching of the jaw here, little tickling of the jaw. Okay. So we got the okay. So sometimes this is long enough that the person on the other end will pick up the phone, and you don't have to keep up this dance while you're actually on the phone with somebody. Okay. Yeah, that's often a question we get. But the problem is that while you're on the phone with somebody, all of your energy needs to be focused on making sure that you understand exactly how stupid they are, okay? You really cannot slip up with that, okay? So we want to make sure that you're not distracted. But let's say you're on hold and you have nothing better to do. Well, you can kind of, have the phone here. Maybe you're kind of listening for somebody on the other end. But we really need you to stand up from there out of your chair and start doing body rolls. Yeah, is that gonna be okay? Yeah, have you ever done body rolls before? Okay, you were a theater kid in high school? Yes, you did a musical where you had to do a body roll. That is such a lovely story. Yeah, it's funny enough, and this is really the beauty of it, is that it does have the potential to escalate into full twerking, which is, offers a lot of bigger smiles for our employees. Everybody's smiling already, but sometimes our eyes just light up when somebody's twerking. It's great. But that's going to be required for absolutely everybody. So, if you're not comfortable with twerking, just keep it to a simple, regular rhythmic body roll, and that's going to be just fine to go through. Okay, all right, perfect. So let's move on. My computer went dark. We've been talking too much about body rolls. Okay, so we've talked about phone etiquette, we've talked about employee relationships, customer satisfaction. Okay, so the next thing I do want to talk about is what our full office meetings are going to look like. So let's see. Yeah, so here we do have that non-negotiable policy of positivity. So none of our office meetings are really allowed to be taken negatively by any employee. Okay, so if I'm talking about something that you find a little bit unfavorable, you really are not actually allowed to show that on your face. Okay, yeah. It's a little bit of a paradox because if an employee says something that does step out of line that we need to, administer demerits for, we are allowed to show a little bit of that on our face because we want to make sure that we are sort of showing everybody that that's not okay, right? Our smile can falter just a little bit. But for you, right, this is, you're part of a team under me. So you really need to be okay with everything that I say. Yeah, does that make sense? So I'm noticing, this is something that you might want to work on in the mirror. So this can kind of be your homework for tonight. Pretty funny. But something that I am noticing is that as I talk, sometimes your face betrays a little bit of dissatisfaction in some sense, right? So yeah, so I'm the only one that's allowed to actually do that. Yeah, does that make sense? So just then your face sort of you frowned a little bit, but it wasn't in like a cute way. It was like in a little bit of a scary way. Yeah, that's not allowed. Okay, we don't want you scaring anybody off. All right, so there's none of that. But I am gonna actually have to make a note of that. And just so you know, I think I forgot to mention this, but all of the notes I'm making here are going to go in your permanent employee record because this is our first date together, and we really need to make sure that nothing gets missed. Okay? All right. So, frowned repeatedly. So funny. It's so funny. Okay. Betraying a little bit of anger and fear. Yes, we are really good at picking up on emotions. And that's kind of what got me to my role. So I'm really good at, seeing how you are feeling. And because of my natural talents, admin allows me to show a bit more of a range than they allow regular employees to show. Yeah, so it's pretty cool if you aspire to if you aspire to be like me, just try to name some of the emotions you see on people's faces as you walk past them. Yeah. Oh, well, that's so funny. You've got a great sense of humor. You're going to be a great addition to our team. But yes, I suppose it is a bit of a tall ask for you to name emotions you see on people that are constantly smiling, but I meant outside of the office. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I forget that our employees are also stupid. Not as stupid as our customers, but you guys really need to be walked through a lot of concepts. Yeah, so I'm sorry I didn't do that just now. That's really my bad. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could tell that we're, connecting on a level. I mean, I'm up here, you're here, but we got that nice little line, that little thread connecting us, and I love spinning that thread. It's such a lovely process. I know, I really do feel like I'm making an impact. Yeah. Okay, so in those meetings we can talk about a variety of things, but keep in mind that we're always going to be having a nice little presentation on the board, and we are going to need you to constantly be writing notes in your notebook. Yeah, the notebook I gave you. So you do need to write these notes because it's important for you to have a record of what we say, but funny enough, you are not allowed to bring any other notebook in with you to that room. We will be patting you down, you know, checking you, making absolutely certain that, you know, nothing's in there that, you know, you could make little notes on that we're not going to see. Yeah, because we do review your notebooks at the end of each day, and we keep them locked in a safe in the office. Yeah, we want to make sure you have attentiveness and that you're able to sort of do something while we speak, because we really don't want that chronic boredom disease to spread any further than it is. So that's important to us. But, you know, we don't want information getting out there. So we do deal with sensitive information, yes. Yeah, all types, all kinds. You know, stuff about our customers and our clients. Anything from family medical history and criminal record to social security numbers and stuff like that. Yeah, we have a lot of those on file. And, you know, even though we aren't a company that is legally allowed to use that information, whatever, it's still important to us and to our admin. Yeah. They keep that information, and what they do with it, it's not something we're allowed to ask about, but you know, you can trust them. They're there for a reason. Yeah, they're in those positions for a reason, okay? So you can trust them. You can. Yeah. You know you can. Perfect. but yeah, so it's really important that notebook does not leave this office, okay? But yeah, I mean, we do find that when you're able to write something down while you're listening, it really does actually lower the risk factor for Legonitis Georgianitis. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Such a paradox, you know, such a funny situation. But yeah, I'm just writing down your reaction. Just important, you know. Don't even pay attention to me while I write stuff down, okay? Okay. Yeah. No, I see you. Okay. All right. Okay, so finally we're just gonna move on to one of the last items on our agenda, which is going to be sort of the policy for when you meet with a client in person. So this is one of the most exciting aspects of this job. I can tell you're gonna be great at it because you seem to be like a people person and somebody who can really stay positive. Yeah, you know, sometimes a powerful person like me projecting onto an inferior person like you can really manifest. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, let's talk about the first step, which is going to be walking into the space that your client is in. So this could be their office, this could be their home, okay? This could be if they come into our office and you go into a private room to meet with them. That's also the space. So there's a little bit of complexity to this because you want to walk a line, okay? So you need to really be treating them as the stupid people they are. And you need to keep that smile, but unfortunately, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, don't let that smile falter. Don't let that smile falter. Yeah. Unfortunately, we do need to force information out of people. Yeah, no, it's really not a big deal. Not a big part of what you're going to be doing here. We do have specialized people for that. But if somebody does refuse, you know, that's just not acceptable. Yeah. As you can imagine. So don't worry for now about what sort of methods of information gathering you're going to have to engage in. But I would suggest being prepared for that type of a situation, okay? And the main thing you need to be prepared for is keeping up that smile. Yes. So yeah, as you can imagine, that enthusiasm, that positivity, those smiles are so important, even in situations that might get a little bit stressful for you. It was very hard for me to do my first forcing of information, but it's actually a really good learning experience that challenges you to grow as a person. So that's really the positive of it. There's always a positive, okay? There's always a positive at our company. Of course, that most important thing is to keep that smile. You know, even if you're grabbing the wrists of somebody or the neck of somebody, you always have to, you know, ensure your own enthusiasm, because we do keep up that image, even in situations like that, okay? Does that make sense to you? No, you don't need, no, this is totally something you're qualified for. Anybody can strangle someone. Okay, so in terms of that, I mean, we went through how you have to walk in enthusiastic and just continue that all the way through your meetings. So I think we're good with client meetings in person. So from there, we've gone through most of our policies, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining our team. Lowering your risk factor for that disease we spoke about. Again, no red pepper flakes, decline jalapenos on your Subway orders. Just make sure you're not really eating spicy foods in general. And then, of course, down to the root of the problem, always make sure you can write something down whenever you're listening to literally anything, okay? So always have a pencil in your hand, and even just a sticky note, just constantly be jotting something down. It'll really help keep a little part of your brain busy while the other part of it slowly dies. So yes, in terms of scheduling, we're gonna have you come in at 1 a.m. okay? 1 a.m. on Wednesday. So that's going to be 1 a.m. on Wednesday, the 24th of September. And that's going to be your start date. And then we can just have you coming in at 1 a.m. every other day. You're going to be going until 1 p.m., okay? 1 a.m. to 1 p.m. Oh, we also do not allow our employees to look tired. So, regardless of usual use of makeup, regardless of gender or anything like that, we do require concealer to be in your briefcase at all times, and we will check for that, okay? All right, so we got you scheduled, we got everything done. I can now just fully certify you, so I'm gonna grab that form that I gave you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I can just give my signature. I'll write down the dates, just put my initials down there. Okay, perfect. That should be good. So here you go. Just keep to the policies and you'll do fine here. And you do remember, just, you know, how much information we have on the people closest to you, and make sure that you do not slip up in your duties here, okay? Perfect. I'll submit my notes about our meeting to our admin, and I look forward to seeing you here in the office on Wednesday, the 24th at 1 a.m. Okay, keep that smile up. Okay. All right, so good to meet with you. Yeah. I'm watching you. I am. Yeah, bye. Yeah, I'll see. Oh. Ran away. Another one ran away. smiles.